and I'm going to bring her up on the stage. Her name is Tammy Olson, and it's about breaking busy. Do it!
Yes, I am here to talk about being busy and our relationship with being busy. So, I don't know, for many, many years, I identified with, I enjoyed, I actually kind of liked being a little overcommitted and frazzled. And I don't know if you want to raise your hand, but is there anybody else here who kind of likes being a little overcommitted? We like being a little busy. There's my girl. We got some people in the back of the room, you know who you are. I would love to say that I read a book about mindfulness and suddenly changed my life. That would be a total lie. What I can tell you is that I experienced a couple of personal losses that one was expected, one was unexpected, but they together caused me to rethink how I wanted to live the rest of my time. So in March of 2019, I lost my dad to Lewy body dementia, and that was kind of expected at that point. But less than 3 months later, I lost my much younger, very healthy, vibrant, all the things, very alive sister to a pulmonary embolism. And that was obviously unexpected. And in the shadowy months that followed those two events, I started to get really prickly and I started to feel really constricted, and I, had the anger and all the things. And I started to be really frustrated with this sense that I had wasted, my words, wasted an awful lot of time doing things that suddenly felt really trivial in the grand scheme of things. So I also found myself questioning how on earth I'd ever gotten to a place where I actually identified with being busy and liking that part of me. And I would say, there's a couple of different layers that surfaced for me when I did that investigation of myself. And really, first step is my own personality. I have responsibility and a ranger in my top 5 strengths finders strengths. And so for me, that manifests as I like to be the center of the universe. I like to be the hub of the wheel. And I like to have all the answers, or think I have all the answers, or at least know how to get the answers. And I loved that until I didn't. And I realized I'd created a world where everyone else's time and requirements were far more important than mine. The second layer to how on earth did I get so hung up on staying busy and being overcommitted is I worked in corporate for 30 years. And a corporate culture, if you're not busy, you're going to get more work anyway, or your job will be eliminated. So at no point during my corporate time was I walking down a hallway and having someone say, "Hey, how you doing?" Well, the answer is busy. I'm not going to say, "I'm in flow, everything's perfect, I have all the time needed to do everything I have to do." No, never would that happen. So it became pretty logical, I guess, when I think about it, that I came to a place where I just found myself not loving what I was, the way I was living. And really, this isn't just a corporate problem. There is a dangerous hustle and grind culture or expectation for small business, or for business owners, for entrepreneurs. It's all but expected that we fall into this trap, that we're chasing something, and it's just no worries. It's just for another week or a month or a quarter, but I just have to hustle through until I get to this product launch or hire this team. Well, it never really ends, because neuroscience tells us that unless we decide to change, unless we intentionally make a break, we're kind of hardwired to find a new achievement to chase. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for goal setting. This is a different animal altogether. And I know that the point of this talk is to be motivating. So you're probably thinking, geez, Tammy, when do we get to the good stuff? So the good news is I am learning, and I want to share with you what I'm learning about how to redesign your life. It is possible, and it doesn't require tragic events or midlife crises. So here's the good news. A really important step in breaking busy is to redefine your relationship to it. If you no longer want to white knuckle your life, then don't. I have news for you. It's a decision, and you can make it. One way that I started doing that was I changed my words around being busy. And I'm like, yeah, busy feels kind of gross now. I don't want to just be busy. And so I started experimenting. I'm a word nerd, and I'm always looking for the right word. And for me, the word became full. My day is full. My life is full. Full feels expansive. Full feels awesome. And so, find the word that works for you, but think about talking to yourself about your time and your attention in a different way. And another way that I find really, this one, try it. I think you will love it. Rather than saying that you have to do something, try saying, I get to do something. Because I get to do something feels expansive, and it implies I have choice. Maybe I don't, but yay, it feels like I have choice. And instead of saying I have to go to the grocery store or I have to pick up the kids, I get to go to the grocery store. And I get to go into this place where there's food and choice and aisles, and I'm going to bring it home for my family. And God, there are places in the world where that doesn't happen, so be grateful that you get to go to a store and you get to pick up your kids. You get to sit in a car with them because they're going to get their own cars and they're going to get their own lives and they're going to go away. So someday this will be the time that you love. So you get to pick up your kids and spend time with them. I could go on about the words, but I know that we came here for some tactical actions. So if you're interested in changing your relationship and thinking about your busyness differently, that's a place to start. But then there are some actual tactics that can come into play that can help you create some order as well. There are productivity myths. There are many productivity myths. Here are a few of my unfavorites. Multitasking. Multitasking is a myth. Who we were just talking about multitasking. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Computers can multitask. Multitasking is a term that was developed to describe computers running separate programs with no loss of efficiency. They can do all of it at the same time. Computers can do that. People can't. People switch task. Thank you. Boom! I see. We have like-minded people. What, do you agree with the switch tasking?
Yeah. I mean, I don't have 4 arms, so yeah.
100%. Even if you had 4 arms.
Maybe I could have had 4 arms.
So that is, I mean, let's be honest. You can walk the dog and listen to a podcast at the same time. That's not multitasking. If you're actually going to do something that requires your cognition and your attention, you are switch tasking. So you literally can't type an email and talk on the phone in a meaningful way at the same time. You're doing nanosecond switches. And author Dave Crenshaw wrote a book. I have to get the title because I love it so much. It is literally The Myth of Multitasking, How Doing It All Gets Nothing Done. I've actually read this book. I do love this book. But what he describes for us is this notion of switch tasking. And science supports this. So science studies it. And when they have subjects doing 2 things and say, you have these 2 things to do, go do them, people are switching between one to the other, getting these 2 tasks done. Or they compare what happens when you do one task to completion and then the next task to completion. And there's a 40% loss of productivity when people are trying to do 2 things at one time. So, but I'm a multitasker. I love it. We know those people. Ha! Yes? I'm calling you out. Like, we know who those people are. You might even be that person. I'm just saying it's a myth. And if you can, find a way to break your task down into very concentrated, focused periods of time, 15, 30 minutes, do the thing for 15 or 30 minutes, and then move on to the next thing. And that's how we really position these things on our calendar so that we can make progress. We're going to be more effective because I need that 40% time back in my day. Another another productivity myth that I don't love is the 5 a.m. club. I also call it the morning people are more productive. Those people. The 5 a.m. club or morning people are more productive. That's a myth. Now, my mother-in-law wears her inability to sleep past 4:30 a.m. like a badge of honor. She then likes to tell me about all the things she's gotten done, which is coincidentally before I've even had my first cup of coffee. And so I get that as we get older, it's easier to get up in the morning. We're more active right away. But the fact is, the real indicator of productivity isn't necessarily because you started early. It's how you're managing and working with your energy through the day. There are varying levels of cognition throughout the day. You can feel it yourself. You can know it. Pay attention to it and go on a journey of discovery. Thank you.
Like the fog.
All it was a clock. It was no big deal. But it was a good reminder. It was a good reminder. So discover for yourself when is it easiest to do some things or do different tasks during the day. And I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to change these words about myself, but I say that I'm not creative. I am not quickly creative. It takes me a while to get into a creative headspace. So if I'm writing something or I'm doing something that is not just putting a flow chart or putting together a work stream, I need a certain amount of time to do that. And so for my whole life in corporate, because it was hard for me, I thought, ooh, I need to do that in the morning. I need to get right on that. And so I would schedule it first thing in the morning, and I would buckle down and do it. And the fact of the matter is we're actually more creative when our brains are a little bit tired because the guardrails are down. Your mental inhibitions are a little bit fuzzy. So once I realized that, I'm like, well, that's why it's hard for me in the morning. Schedule those things later in the day. So be aware of your own rhythms and manage that. And if you're interested in that kind of work, that's Dr. Ron Friedman, who specializes in human performance. I have 4 minutes left. I'm going to talk fast through some decision fatigue. Decision fatigue is that place where we know that we've made 35,000 decisions in a day, and while we know that most of them are trivial and menial, the fact is we do need to save a certain amount of brain power to make the good decisions. So the best way to bust decision fatigue is to create habits. And oftentimes I think of habits as something I need to break, but if we're creating productive, positive habits, then we put things on autopilot. And then you're not wasting brain power thinking about what should I have for breakfast. So Barack Obama, when he was president, famously said, listen, I only wear gray or blue suits because I don't have time to think about, I don't want to be thinking about what I'm eating or what I'm wearing. I have big decisions to make. And I would say that as the leader of the free world, I didn't want him caring about, was it cereal or yogurt today? And if we've deployed these things, and I'm just going to drop this because who cares about the slides. If we have been intentional about our choice of words, if we're busting myths and we're not thinking that we have to work like everyone else or that there's something wrong with us if we want to get up later in the day or, then you have to put things on your calendar in a meaningful way. And it's really important that we think about the big rocks in our life, that we position them appropriately, and then the biggest challenge I see people having with their calendar is that they don't follow it. Okay, so be intentional. If it's on the calendar, if you're going to do this, do what your calendar tells you to do. And keep integrity with yourself, that if you're supposed to be at your daughter's soccer game, that you're at your daughter's soccer game. Or if you're working out, that you're actually working out. So, in short, if you want to white knuckle your life, if you want to live like that, that's fine, you do you. But if you have a desire to change, you simply have to say, I don't really want to be this busy anymore. I'm going to envision how I want my life to be, and you're going to start making small changes because they don't have to be big, dramatic shifts in your behavior. Those small, sustainable changes, piled one on top of each other, will get you from overwhelmed and frazzled to, I don't know, a place of peace and zen.
Thank you.